So the Global Wealth Report tells us that the world's millionaires, and that is less than 1% of the world's population, I believe it's less than 1/10 of 1% of the world's population, now own more than half of the world's wealth. Pretty mind-boggling. And the New York Times is reporting that billionaires like Charles Koch and millionaires within the Republican Party, and virtually all of your elected Republicans are millionaires, are working as aggressively as they can to destroy health care for children. And and doing this in a fairly straightforward way. I mean, this piece from truthout.org by Alex Koch yesterday, I mentioned this on the air yesterday. The Foundation for Government Accountability, the FGA, says that Charles Koch and the Bradley brothers and a bunch of basically right-wing billionaires are funding programs. They've been whining and dining Republican politicians and White House staffers. Took them down to a Walt Disney report, according to a new report from the Center for Public Integrity. And the pitch, quote, make it harder for poor Americans to access government programs meant to help them get on secure financial ground, especially the SNAP program, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, commonly known as food stamps, and Medicaid. So there's this, and then we get this report from the New York Times that over 1 million children have been kicked off Medicaid in the last 2.5 years since Trump became president. Now, the trend was continuously more and more children being covered by Medicaid as a result of the Obamacare expansion and all this kind of stuff, right up until Donald Trump became president. And then he, state after state, with because of ALEC and these state operations run with money from these right-wing billionaires, have been passing laws, these so-called redeeming power of work laws, saying that if you don't work at least 80 hours a month, you don't get Medicaid. Sorry. And, in a lot of places, you don't have enough jobs to work 80 hours a month. And in other places, you've got other situations, you've got people who simply can't do that. I mean, you can't find a job that pays enough that you can put your 2 or 3 kids in daycare. I mean, but 1 million children, now Joan McCarter writing over Daily Kos, 1 million children who had been covered by Medicaid no longer are, thanks to the Trump administration. One example is, this is from the New York Times, one example is 9-month-old Elijah Johnson in Texas. The New York Times reported, quote, the baby's lips were turning blue from lack of oxygen in the blood when his mother, Kristen Johnson, rushed him to an emergency room here last month. Only after he was admitted to intensive care with a respiratory virus did Mrs. Johnson learn that she had been dropped from Medicaid coverage. Elijah survived, as have Johnson's other 2 children who were also dropped from coverage. She said, I've been on this emotional roller coaster. It's been a very scary month. And this is happening in red states all over the country, particularly Tennessee, Texas, and Florida, where Republican governors and Republican legislators are just stripping low-income children. And in most cases, these are families where an adult is actually working, but they are just stripping these children from the Medicare rolls. So the question is, why? Why would that be? Why are they doing this? Is it so that there'll be more money left over for the billionaires for the next round of tax cuts? Is that what's motivating them? Is it that they hate poor people? Is it that they think there's too many poor people and we need to cull the herd? Is it some form of mental illness like hoarding syndrome, only in their case directed toward money instead of newspapers and tin cans? Why are these billionaires doing this? Do you have an idea?